great majority of them have concluded the shroud is indeed 2,000 years old. And based on my biblical scholarship, I can assure you that no one was crucified the way Jesus of Nazareth was crucified on April 3rd, AD 33. We know the exact date. It's the best established fact of the ancient
There are
world.
relics that inspire devotion. There are relics that spark debate. And then there is the Shroud of Turin, a single piece of linen that holds within its fibers a mystery older than empire, a question that refuses to die. Could this be the burial cloth of Jesus of Nazareth? For centuries, kings, scientists, skeptics, and believers have stood before this fragile fabric, drawn not by what they understand, but by what they cannot explain. The shroud first appeared in recorded history in the tiny French village of Liray around the year 1353. It was displayed by a knight, Geoffroy de Charny, and his wife, Jeanne de Vergy. The image it bore, faint, spectral, human, astonished those who saw it. Church authorities questioned its authenticity, but the crowds kept coming. Word spread across medieval Europe. A cloth existed that bore the face of the crucified. Yet even then the debate began. Was it holy? Was it art? Or was it something that science itself could not yet name? The shroud's journey reads like a chronicle of survival. Fire in 1532 nearly destroyed it. Water stains, burn holes, and centuries of handling scar its surface. Yet the mysterious image remained untouched, as if the flames themselves had avoided the face upon the cloth. When the House of Savoy transferred the shroud to Turin in 1578, it entered the modern age, and with it, the era of scrutiny. In 1898, Italian photographer Secondo Pia was granted permission to take the first photographs of the shroud. What he saw in his darkroom stunned him. The negative plate revealed a positive image, detailed, lifelike, three-dimensional. For the first time, the face of the man of the shroud looked back at the modern world. Pia's discovery ignited a scientific and spiritual revolution. The shroud was no longer a relic of faith alone. It had become a puzzle of physics, chemistry, and light. For the next century, more than 100 scientific disciplines turned their instruments toward the shroud. Historians examined the weave. Chemists studied the blood. Physicists probed the image itself. Dr. Jeremiah Johnston summarizes their collective effort. Over 102 scientific disciplines have spent more than 600,000 hours studying the shroud. The majority conclude it is 2,000 years old. Modern tests using wide-angle X-ray scattering technology by the Institute of Crystallography in Italy confirm that the flax fibers date back to the time of Christ. The shroud is made of fine linen, woven in a herringbone pattern, the same quality described in 1st century Judea, reserved for the wealthy. All four Gospels tell us that Joseph of Arimathea, a wealthy member of the Sanhedrin, wrapped the body of Jesus in a linen shroud and laid him in a new tomb. The Greek term sindin, the very word used in the Gospel of Mark, is identical to the material before us today. Coincidence or continuity? Embedded in the linen is a faint image of a man, front and back, head to feet, as though his body emitted light that scorched a whisper of itself into the fibers. He bears wounds that match every gospel description. Scalp lacerations consistent with a crown of thorns, shoulder abrasions from carrying a beam, wrist and foot punctures aligned with Roman crucifixion, a spear wound in the side. No pigments, no paint, no brush strokes. The color change exists only on the outermost 2 microns of the fibers, thinner than a human hair. Scientists have tried lasers, heat, chemicals, but none have reproduced it. Dr. Paul De Lazzaro of Enea Laboratories calculated the energy needed to form such an image: 34 trillion watts per square centimeter, released in 1/4 of a billionth of a second. A flash of pure radiation that imprinted the cloth without burning it. It would have been, he says, a burst of light so intense it defies physics, as if matter itself converted into light. The Apostle Paul once wrote, "We shall all be changed, in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye." Science and Scripture meet on the same horizon. In 1988, fragments of the shroud were tested by 3 laboratories using radiocarbon dating. Results dated the sample between 1260 and 1390 AD, seemingly medieval. The headlines declared the shroud a forgery. But years later, researchers discovered that the tested corner came from a repair patch added after the 1532 fire. Threads contaminated by medieval cotton and dyes. Subsequent chemical and spectral analyses confirmed the tested fibers were not representative of the original cloth. Today, many scientists, even skeptics, admit that the carbon dating controversy remains unresolved. Of light so intense it defies physics, as if matter itself converted into light. The Apostle Paul once wrote, "We shall all be changed, in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye." Science and Scripture meet on the same horizon. In 1988, fragments of the shroud were tested by 3 laboratories using radiocarbon dating. Results dated the sample between 1260 and 1390 AD, seemingly medieval. The headlines declared the shroud a forgery. But years later, researchers discovered that the tested corner came from a repair patch added after the 1532 fire. Threads contaminated by medieval cotton and dyes. Subsequent chemical and spectral analyses confirmed the tested fibers were not representative of the original cloth. Today, many scientists, even skeptics, admit that the carbon dating controversy remains unresolved. Forensic experts confirm the presence of real human blood, type AB, the rarest type, found also on the Sudarium of Oviedo, another ancient cloth linked to the burial of Christ. Microscopic analysis reveals the presence of bilirubin, a compound released under extreme trauma, consistent with a man who was tortured and crucified. Every mark, every stain, tells a story of suffering. And yet, surrounding that story is light. Dr. Johnston reflects, "We wouldn't have the New Testament without evidence of the resurrection. The disciples didn't expect Jesus to rise. They believed because they saw, because there was evidence." John himself wrote, "That which we have seen, which our hands have handled." The shroud may be that tangible testimony, an echo of eyewitness faith preserved in linen. Imagine the silent tomb of early dawn. A body lies still. Then, in a fraction of a second, light explodes outward, passing through the fabric without consuming it, leaving behind only the imprint of glory. This, say researchers, may be the only physical record of a transformation event, the instant between death and life. Advancements in digital imaging now allow the shroud to be viewed in 3 dimensions. The face that emerges is not of legend, but of a real man. Each wound aligns perfectly with ancient Roman execution methods. Even pollen traces on the linen match species native to Jerusalem in springtime. "We may be witnessing," says Dr. Johnston, "a controlled revelation of Christ through technology itself, a divine echo reminding us that the resurrection is not just faith, it is fact. Each year, thousands come to gaze upon the shroud, some as skeptics, some as seekers, some as saints. Few leave unchanged. For believers, it is a silent gospel in linen. For scientists, a puzzle that defies replication. For humanity, it is a reminder that faith and reason, body and light, history and eternity can meet and merge. Dr. Jeremiah Johnston prepares to travel to Italy for the Feast of the Holy Shroud. Filmmakers, scholars, and pilgrims gather. Across the world, millions watch as the linen is brought forth once more, fragile, ancient, luminous. What if this cloth is more than memory? What if it is a message stitched in light for a generation that sees through screens and photons, that believes through evidence and wonder? When the light touched linen, it left the world a sign that death is not the end, and the face of the risen Christ still looks upon us.